Have you ever felt like something was watching you, but when you turned around, nothing was there? Tonight, we bring you two horrifying encounters that defy explanation. Listen closely, and remember, some places should never be explored. Story 1. The Watcher of Black Hollow. In the far reaches of Canada, where the wilderness stretches beyond the limits of human settlement, there is a place that does not appear on any official maps. The locals refer to it only as Black Hollow, though they rarely speak its name aloud. Hunters and trappers who have ventured too far into its depths either never return or emerge forever changed, silent, withdrawn, their eyes filled with something that cannot be explained. Daniel Holt was not one to believe in ghost stories. He was a seasoned hiker, a survivalist who had spent years navigating the harshest terrains. When he first heard the stories about Black Hollow, he dismissed them as folklore superstitions designed to scare outsiders. Determined to prove that there was nothing lurking in the dark, he packed his gear and set off alone. The journey started uneventfully. The forest was dense, its towering trees casting long shadows even in daylight. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, and the only sounds were the distant calls of birds and the rustling of unseen creatures. But as the days passed, Daniel began to notice small, unsettling details each morning. He would wake to find his camp slightly disturbed, his backpack unzipped, his food scattered. At first, he blamed it on raccoons or some other scavenging animals. But then he found something that made his blood run cold. A single, perfectly clean footprint just outside his tent. It was not his own. That night, as he lay in his sleeping bag, he heard it for the first time. A whisper. It was faint, almost imperceptible, carried on the wind. But as the hours crept by, the whispers grew louder. They were not words, not in any language he recognized, but they were unmistakably human. He turned on his flashlight and swept it across the trees. Nothing, just endless darkness pressing in from all sides. But then, just beyond the tree line, he saw them. Tall, emaciated figures, their skin stretched tight over unnaturally long limbs. They had no eyes, no features, just hollow, gaping mouths that moved in unison, whispering. Daniel grabbed his camera and ran. He didn't stop, didn't look back, sprinting blindly through the forest until exhaustion forced him to collapse. His heart pounded in his ears, drowning out everything else. The next morning, he was found by a search team, muttering incoherently, his face frozen in an expression of pure terror. He was airlifted to a hospital, but he never recovered. He refused to speak, refused to sleep, staring endlessly at the corner of whatever room he was in, as if he could still see them standing there. Weeks later, the search team recovered Daniel's camera. The final recording was a shaky, night vision shot of the trees, the ground, and then, just for a split second, something standing directly behind him. And in the background, the whispers continued. Story 2. The Siren of Hellsmouth Cave. The coastline of Wales is a place of jagged cliffs and violent tides, where the sea roars against the rocks like an eternal beast. Among these cliffs lies Hellsmouth Cave, a gaping maw in the rock that swallows all who dare venture inside. The cave is notorious among sailors and fishermen. They say the tides there are treacherous, shifting without warning, dragging even the strongest swimmers to their doom. But there is another reason why they fear Hell's Mouth, a reason they will not speak of. Emily Carter was a marine biologist, a scientist who believed in logic and facts. When she heard reports of strange, melodic sounds emanating from the cave, sounds unlike any known marine creature, she was determined to investigate. With a small team and the latest underwater equipment, Emily set out on a cold autumn morning. The sea was calmer than expected, as if holding its breath. They lowered their sonar equipment into the water, expecting to find the usual readings of fish and shifting tides. Instead, they detected something massive, something that moved too quickly to be natural. Then, They heard it that a song that it was soft at first, almost mournful, vibrating through the water like an ancient hymn. The melody was impossibly beautiful, filling their heads with visions of lost memories, of loved ones long gone. One of the crew, a young diver named Mark, took off his headset suddenly, his breathing ragged. "We need to leave," he whispered. "Now." But before anyone could react, he was gone. The water erupted violently, as if something enormous had just passed beneath them. Emily grabbed a flashlight and peered over the edge of the boat. The water was black, endless. Then, something broke the surface that a figure that first. It looked human, a woman, her skin impossibly pale, her long hair floating like seaweed. But when she opened her eyes, they were black voids, endless and empty. And when she smiled, Emily saw the rows of needle-like teeth. The song changed. It was no longer beautiful. It was a deafening, mind-shattering shriek that Emily's vision blurred. Her ears rang. She felt herself slipping, her body losing control. Something cold wrapped around her ankle, pulling her toward the water, toward the depths. Then, darkness. Emily was found days later, washed up miles from the cave, barely conscious. She spoke of nothing, refused to answer questions. But at night, as she lay in the hospital bed, she would wake up screaming because she could still hear the song echoing from beneath the waves. And sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she could still see the woman standing at the shore, smiling with that impossible, tooth-filled mouth, waiting. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. Would you dare explore a haunted forest or dive into an uncharted cave? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you think you can handle more terrifying stories.